Welcome to the Oddschecker Cheltenham Festival preview panel, both as a podcast and as a video. This is Gold Cup Day, the Friday, the fourth and last day of the festival. I'm joined by three expert panellists, racing journalist and tipster Tony Calvin, Oddschecker's very own tipster Andy Holding, and Joe Chambers, who is racing manager for Mrs. Susannah Ricci. Three great guests. I'm your host, George Elek, and before we get going with the racing, just going to point you towards our IJF campaign. The Injured Jockeys Fund, Oddschecker will be donating 5p for every bet placed during the week of Cheltenham Festival on the festival. Every bet over £1 will be donating 5p to the IJF. It's a really important cause. So if you haven't downloaded the Oddschecker app or you haven't used the quick bet function on our site, then I recommend you do so during the festival, because you'll be helping to support a cause and a charity that helps everybody in racing. So important that we do so, and fingers crossed we can raise a lot of money for them. On to the racing now, and the curtain raiser on the final day is the Triumph Hurdle. Sir Eric is the very hot favourite at 6-5. Kel Desta 8-1. Fakir Duderi, who we don't expect to run against his stablemate, is 11-1. Pic Dorhe 12-1. Tiger Tap Tap 14-1. Gardens of Babylon, Band of Outlaws 16-1. 20-1 bar. Joe, I'll come over to you first here. Anything that's caught your eye?
Well, we've got Tiger Tap Tap, who ran very well first time out at Christmas time in Maiden Hurdle, just behind Sir Eric. It was only the third race of his life, and he was pretty green that day. He really disappointed us at the Dublin Racing Festival next time out, but we think there are a few reasons for that, and he is seemingly coming back into form ahead of this. Very hard to see him being able to reverse form with the short price favourite. I think the Irish will probably fill the first three, if not the first four placings here. Paul Nicholls has Pic Dorhe, whose form in France is at a very high level, but he hasn't run over hurdles yet over here in the UK. So I don't know. I think it's very hard to recommend anything to beat the favourite at the moment. I think Tiger will run closer to his Christmas form than his Dublin Racing Festival form when he lines up, and he is he's got a really good attitude. So, you know, he's a young horse. He's only had 4 runs in his life. One of them we're putting a line through. You know, so he's one for the future. So, but you know, if he can just run well, that we'd be delighted with that. If he could get into placings, Sir Eric, he's really been a revelation. I think the fact that he's still an entire is really interesting. It wouldn't surprise me if they did try to make a stallion out of him. His dam is a half sister to Mahler, if I'm not mistaken, who's already been a good National Hunt stallion. So there is some element of pedigree there as well. But yeah, no real view. Just like to see our fella come in the first 3 or 4 if we can.
Andy?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, this the Triumph Hurdle, because usually I've got like a benchmark of what a horse should have done if I think it's going to be a genuine Grade 1 juvenile. I remember going back through the years, Connor really set the benchmark for Triumph Hurdle victories when he won the Spring Juvenile. He clocked a number 77 on my time figures scale, and no juvenile's got anywhere near that ever since. The benchmark is around about a 70. If you run to a level of a 70 on my numbers, then I think you are a genuine Grade 1 horse. There's only one horse that's run over 70 this year, and that's Fakir Duderi when he won at Cheltenham. So basically, whichever race Fakir Duderi runs in, I want to get with him, because I just think he's a cut above. Funny enough, Sir Eric, even though he was impressive last time, he hasn't run anything remotely near the kind of number I'd expect him to do. He won a slowly run race last time at Leopardstown. For once, the Spring Juvenile was very slowly run. It suited him. He was off in front. And basically, they were giving a 109 rated flat horse a solo in front. Yeah. He was allowed to seize hurdles. He did still make the odd error here then. He dived at a couple. He still wasn't quite sure what he was doing in every department. He got better as the race warmed up. And they were obviously never going to catch him from the back of the second last. He was always going to outpace them. So it'd be interesting to see what kind of tactics they employ with Sir Eric, whether they go off in front again and try and do what they did last time out and make the most use of him. If he's in behind horses and they go fast, and there's obviously few in this that want to get on with it, you know, your Kel Destans, it might just put him into an uncomfortable position. yes, he's got the most untapped potential in this race, and if it was a foot race, he'd win this easily. But 5-4.
Would it worry you that he's still a colt? Is that a factor at all?
No, it's very popular in France. The Posta Henderson horse that I mentioned earlier on, Janika, that was only gelded when it left Guicherel's before his first run at Ascot. So he's only run twice as a gelding.
No, you
and they're looking, Guillaume McCare in particular, they're looking to make stallions out of their hurdlers. Nickname was an obvious one. Who won a Grade 1 chase. They got a horse coming through now called Gemex, who was a top hurdler there a couple of years ago. His first 3-year-olds, I think, are on the ground this year. So it's a lot more common over there than it is here. Comanche Court running this as a colt. Or did he win his maiden hurdle as a colt?
That's Ted Walsh's.
Yeah. Something tells me he won his maiden hurdle as a colt.
Okay.
I could be completely wrong, but no. Over in France, it wouldn't worry me. It'd worry me if some devious connections lamped a filly in front of him walking around the parade ring or something like that.
Gordon Surrey.
Couldn't possibly comment. But I think Joseph is. I think the O'Brien clan are fairly well versed in handling certain such instances.
I think it'd be paraded out of order.
Tony, anything catching your eye?
I've had a speculative bet. I've nibbled a few prices on Betfair, and I've backed it 20-1 each way. Penton Hills. I just took the opinion that Sir Eric was the standout for me, but far too short at 5-4 for the reasons Andy says. I thought Penton Hills was really, really impressive at Plumpton, albeit he needs to improve a fair bit from that. But the way he beat a fair 126 horse in the Flying Sofa, even getting £9, was really, really impressive at Plumpton. I think the plan is to go there now. They were talking about Aintree afterwards, but I think they probably looked at the Triumph and just thought, outside of the favourite, this is a winnable race. It's really interesting. Nicky Henderson made the point a couple of days ago that he actually ran first bout in that race on his debut, that Plumpton race that Penton Hills won, and that won the Triumph on his next start. I'm not sure going to say lightly he's going to strike twice, but I'm going to pay to find out at 20-1 each way Penton Hills.
Yeah, Penton Hills 20-1 with Betfair Sportsbook and William Hill. Worth pointing out that neither of those two are non-run, no bet, but the thinking seems to be that despite early indications that he goes straight to Aintree, Penton Hills will be here and lining up for the Triumph on Friday. And just in case you were cut a bit short there, I just wanted to check if there's anything else you wanted to...
I can second that as well with Penton Hills. He clocked a very good time, not a sensational overall time, but certainly respectable. But it was his last circuit time compared to Brandon Castle, which is the one. It was absolutely electric. He flew around there, and at the time when I thought Flying Sofa got beat, I was literally dumbstruck. But then I've gone back into the numbers and I know why. So he can obviously operate Penton Hills. Obviously lack of experience as a one run, that might count against him. But he certainly deserves to take his chance, particularly in a year where the UK horses have been fairly moderate. And it might cut up this race and be a relatively small field. The things with Sir Eric, I jumped on Sir Eric after he won first time out. I thought, well, I'll take a chance because he'll win the Spring Juvenile. And then you're in a good position. But I was more underwhelmed, funny enough, with his last run because of the time and the way it went. That I think there's definitely flaws. Even though I backed him, I think he's most likely win. I do think there's flaws in him. I think if you get him at it, and he can be put under pressure, he might just make mistakes.
It's a bit of a message behind as well from 2 out, wasn't it? From 2 out round the home bend, everybody got in each other's way.
Yeah,
trying to make up ground off a slow pace.
That's right. I just don't think he's as bomb-proof as the price suggests.
A vulnerable favourite then seems to be the opinion from the guys here. We'll move on now to the county hurdle. Uradale 14-1. I mean, we can just about call him Fav, but it's you can throw a blanket over most of these. Ivanovic Gorbachev is 16-1 currently. Monsieur Lecoq 16-1. Southfield Stone 16-1. Vision d'Honneur 16-1. Wonderleish, who's kind of 8s and 10s around. 888 go standout 16s. Felix Desg, which we've already spoken about, another one 16-1. So yeah, anyone got a strong view here?
Well, Wonderleish is ridiculously short. I mean, he's artificially short because he's trained by Charles Burns, and bookmakers just don't want to be offering cute prices about one of his. Yeah. But I mean, you couldn't back him off the back of his last one at Leopardstown.
He was a massive drifter that day.
Well, they come for the other one, and that one won. On your go, is it? On your
Surprise!
So yeah, I would be reluctant to sort of mention him in any glowing terms. I think it'd be interesting if something from the Imperial Cup Saturday was to double up. I think that's always worth looking at. I know Winston C's entered in the Imperial Cup and he's a strong fancy there, and he's down to running the Imperial Cup. Maybe connections are looking at going back to back. I think Whiskey Sour's one to look at a price.
20s.
Yeah, he's run some decent races, some top quality races. He looks as though he's been given a break, especially for this. But at the moment, I haven't got a particularly strong view. I'm not sitting down here thinking, oh yeah, I know the county hurdle winner.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Does anyone?
I'll pass it over to the boys.
No, let's go.
Nothing for Tony.
We can
No,
move on.
the one I think that's highly progressive, and he won in an absolute quagmire at Sandown the last day, was Monsieur Le. I'll let you pronounce the second word.
Monsieur Lecoq.
Yes, I think he won in a quagmire. I think he's very progressive, and I could see him. I know he's towards the front of the market, but I think he fully merits it.
Monsieur Lecoq is 16-1 with Sky Bet, Betfair Sportsbook, and 188Bet. Very quickly then through the county hurdle and onto the Albert Bartlett, the third of the novice hurdles over the maximum trip of the three. And we have, I'm very bad at saying this horse's name, Lisnager Oscar, I've gone for here, is the 7-1 favourite. Commander of Fleet 15-2, Dicky Diver 8-1, Birchdale 10-1, Alaho, an interesting runner, at 12-1. Battle Over Doyen, who we don't expect to run in this race, is 12-1 without the no run, no bet. Relegate 14s and 16s bar. Tony, any angles here?
Yeah, I've managed to nick a very, very tiny bet on Lisnagar Oscar at 25s. Very impressive last time. Now 7-1. I think that is. I think he's the right favourite. Very impressive that day. I've been. One of my bigger anti-poach positions is on Rock Point, the horse who actually beat Lisnagar Oscar at Cheltenham earlier in the season. About that 16s quite a few times and 20s, and obviously he's drifted out massively, and we don't know where he's going to go to the race.
Yeah.
The owners are keen to run at Sandown on Saturday. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the decks at the present time for that, whether he's going to go there or not. But Colin Tizard's keen to go for the Albert Bartlett. I can see why the Albert Bartlett is a race that always goes to a very experienced horse, and Rock Point at least has that. I wasn't too downhearted by his run over 2 mile 500 penalty on quick ground at Warwick after that Cheltenham win, but that run behind Lisnagar Oscar last time at Haydock was incredibly disappointing. But what I would say is the horse has drifted to about 3 times the price that I expected it to go off on Betfair on his last 2 starts, and Colin Tizard is on record as saying the horse is very stuffy, needs a lot of work. So all is not lost, but he's now a 33-1 chance and possibly an unlikely runner, so I can't put it up here, but I at least would like a run for my money if Rock Point gets there, and I think he could put those 2 runs behind him. But I do think Lisnagar Oscar is the correct favourite, and still probably a fair price after what he did last time at 7-1.
So Rock Point is 33s pretty much across the board. Tony there mentioned the importance of experience in this race. And on the Thursday podcast, Joe, you spoke about how with Cheveley Park and some RS trainers pretty quite keen to give them winners. And you've got Alaho, who's a horse with not much experience, just the 2 runs for Willie Mullins, finishing 4th initially and then winning well next time out at Clonmel. And seems to be some positive noises coming out about Alaho as well, who's currently 12-1, was about 14s or 16s last week.
Yeah, hopefully Willie won't listen to this, but I think he runs the wrong horse in this race more often than not. I think Boston Bob was the best novice he ever brought to Cheltenham at the time, and he ran him in the Bartlett instead of the Ballymore. I think if Alaho lined up in the Ballymore, I'd be really interested in him. I thought he was travelling plenty free enough in Ruby's hands the last day at Thurles. So I don't know, I just think he might be better coming back and trip. That's just my own opinion. Willie values my opinion very highly because it gives him one option to eliminate immediately. But I'd be with. I like Lisnagar Oscar. I think Minella Indo, who was second behind Alaho the last day, I think he's a horse I can see running a big race. Dunvegan is a horse I have a lot of time for. He was clinically abnormal after the Dublin Racing Festival, so I don't know if he's going to line up or not. If it was a quagmire, Darren Ross, I could see him running very well over the extended trip. But the one I really hope lines up here is Relegate. I think they'll get her hurdling sorted out. I think she'll love every yard of the trip. She obviously loves the hill. She fairly rattled home in the bumper last year. And getting the £7, I can see her running a huge race in the Bartlett if she does line up.
14-1 Relegate is currently with Marathon Bet. That is the best price, and 10s across the board. 365 go 8-1. So probably worth taking that 14s if you can pretty quickly. And just because it's the biggest horse, biggest price horse we've had mentioned so far in any of these, I'll flag up Minella Indo, who you pointed out there, who finished behind Alaho last time, currently 66-1 with Betfred and Tote Sport, with non-run no bet, and also with Black Type, who don't offer that. So maybe one, if you're looking for a bigger price fancy, that could be one to go for. Andy?
Yeah, well, I've put up Lisnagar Oscar, haven't I?
Yeah.
For Oddschecker last week, the week before, when he won at Haydock. It's only after I went back and done the numbers that I realised how good the performance was. He looked good on the day, and I thought, as soon as he went over the line, I thought, God, that's an Albert Bartlett horse. And then the time figures told me that was very much the case. I think he ran the last circuit 2.5 seconds quicker than Cal Destan. 2 mile horse. You think,
big weight difference there as well, I'd have thought.
Yeah,
Wouldn't there be?
Yeah, there was. I think there was. Yeah. So I think, God, this is a fair tool. He seemed to find an extra leg as well, because the day before he would have been beaten by Dickie Dyer, I think, at Chepstow. So I think the step up in trip certainly helped him. Whether he just became mature, that race at Chepstow just matured him, I don't know. He's got previous Cheltenham form as well. I mean, he should have won that day when Rock Point beat him. He kicked the last out the ground right when he was drawing alongside. So he's got Cheltenham form, he's got experience, which is what you need. Tony's already pointed that out. It always goes to horses that have plenty of runs. And obviously Rebecca's won this race before with that Fisher's Cross. So it does tick a hell of a lot of boxes. I still think 7-1's fair value. Joe's mentioned Derry Moss. That's a horse I like. He's a proper out-and-out stayer. He's won 2 races this year. He beat Sam's Profile at Cork.
That's right.
2 starts ago, and obviously Sam's Profile won't be a million miles away in the Ballymore. So he's won a Grade 3. He's won a Grade 2.
Grinder.
He's a proper grinder. Yeah, that's what you need for this. You need stamina, horses with tons of stamina, and the heart for this race win it. Obviously Willie's come unstuck a few times with some high-profile ones that have been a bit disappointing. I think Bacardi's fell in it.
There. Yeah. But I could see the likes of Alaho, Dickie Diver, Birchdale if he lined up.
Yeah.
They could be better longer-term prospects. They might even overturn the form.
They might, yeah.
Punchestown, but this race just seems to go to those that
That's
are
it. That's why I think
a little bit slower and a little bit gutsier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's why I think Lisnagar Oscar will take quite a bit of beating. So yeah, he'd be one of my strongest views of the week.
So Lisnagar Oscar currently 7-1, best price standout with Hills, Darren Ross, mentioned by Joe and Andy, 16-1 currently. On to the big one now, the Cheltenham Gold Cup, presenting Percy and Clan des Obeaux, sharing favouritism currently at 4-1. Native River, last year's winner, 6-1. Kemboy, 10-1. Might Bite, 14-1. Bells Hill, 14-1. 16-1 Bar. And Tony, you mentioned, I'll come to you first, you spoke to Nico about Might Bite on the other podcast, so we may as well repeat it here.
Yeah, he worked him on Sunday, did a solo gallop. I said, look, was it just a dawdle round? He said, no. He said, I really let him go on. And he said, in his own words, he said they rock and rolled over 10 fences. Very, very happy with them. Increasingly, they think the horse is getting there. It's had a slight wind up. Nicky Henderson's got a great record, as with Paul Nicholls, with a strike rate after the wind up. So obviously we know they want decent ground. They're confident of a run, but personally, even at 12s, 14-1, it's not really for me. I'm not particularly going to argue about the prices at the top of the market, presenting Percy, Clan des Obeaux, but even at 4s, 9-2, they don't excite me. Just cutting to the chase, I've been backing invitation only ever since the Tiestes. I had a few quid on him before that as well. Slipped on landing when he pulled up in the JLT last year, so I wouldn't have the Cheltenham form against him. But I just thought he was really impressive in the Tiestes last time. I think he's unexposed over the trip. He clearly needs to improve on that Gowran run, but it's really interesting that Willie Mullins has used that as a stepping stone twice in recent years with the winner, both of them on his own, and Jackadam went on from that to finish second in the Gold Cup on his own, obviously beating a short head Jackadown beaten 2 lengths, albeit I think one of those, I think Odizo went on to win the Bobby Joe before he got there, but I think Jackadown went straight from the Tie Estes there. Invitation only won the Tie Estes off a higher mark than Jackadown. I've been backing it at big prices. It's still 70 plus win only on Betfair at the moment. That's where I've been doing most of my trade on it. If you want to back him, you can back him at 41 each way with Hills. That's all in, or 33's non-run and no bet. You know, you pay your money, you take your choice. I'm quite happy to keep on chipping away at 60, 70 plus on Betfair. But invitation only for me is the bet of the Gold Cup.
Joe?
Until Pat Kelly proves that he's wrong, I think you have to stick with him with presenting Percy. Unconventional and all that. I just think the horse is an absolute weapon, and he's got it right the last couple of years. They clearly believe that he's good enough. I think he's probably going to only get a bigger price between now and then, based on all the vibes and all the different bits of negativity coming out. Nichols is absolutely deadly when he gets hold of a horse like Clandazobo. He just seems to know exactly what makes them tick. I could see Native River bouncing back, but if the ground is on the soft side of good, I will be backing Annabelle Fly on the day, and particularly if Mona Lee turns up in the Ryanair the day before and runs well. I think that was a huge run over 2.5 miles at Gorn the last day in the Red Mills, and if they could make a bit more, he never got into it last year. He stayed on really, really well, but you know, it was a 2-horse race almost from flagfall last year, and nothing really ever got into it from behind. They probably learnt a good bit from it as well, but Percy and Annabelle Fly for me.
Annabelle Fly 25 to 1 with Skybet and Ladbrokes, both with no bet, and Bet Victor as well, I should say, and 888 Sports. So interesting with them, and looking through that Mona Lee form as well beforehand. Andy, the main man for the main race.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a stellar Gold Cup. Every horse that counts is going to be there. I think we're going to get 16 or more runners, based on what I can see. That'll make sure that most bookmakers will be betting 5 places, some will go 6. So I don't think there's any real need to have a bet at the moment.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. We get a chance to look at what's in the lineup. We get a chance to see the ground, who's in form as well. I think that's important, which trainers are in form. But just based on what they've done so far this season, then I've been, even though he hasn't won, I've been particularly impressed with Native River. Things haven't quite worked out for him, but he's done nothing wrong in his 2 runs. Obviously, Kempton didn't suit him. But I just love the way he battled on all the way to the line. But Cheltenham's a different ball game, particularly on the new course. He gets into that rhythm, he's off in front. We know he's going to push this lot into the areas where they just don't want to be going.
Yeah.
And you know, they gradually drop off one by one, and he just tightens his grip. And he'll just keep grinding away. I think he's a really good each way bet on the day, perhaps something in around the 5-6 to 1 mark with 6 places. And I certainly think Road to Respect has come here a little bit under the radar because he got beat last time out in a small field. But interestingly, that they went a right gallop that day, him and Bells Hill. Joe's already mentioned the Storyteller, and even though he got beat 7 or 8 lengths, he still won a good number. They went quicker than La Bagaroy, over 2.5 miles, which suggests they were trapping on. And he ran well in the Gold Cup last year. He also, similar to Annabelle Fly, never really got in it because it was a bit of a 2-horse race from a long way out. It was hard to make the ground up from the back of the field. He should have won the Neville Chase early in the season, but he slipped up at the bend, and then he got knocked, and then he tried to go for a run at the inside when he got knocked sideways. He should really be almost coming here 3 wins on the spin. He should have won Lepers down. Last time, I could say, he backed off his hurdles when he was in front. The ground is too fast for him as well. But a bigger field, stronger gallop, more conventional race. I think Road to Respect's got to go well. He's 20 to 1. I'll definitely be looking to back him sort of 5-6 places on the day, or for a place. He might get sort of 4 to 1 a place on the day. So I think presenting Percy is the right favourite. I couldn't knock him. His Galmore hurdle win was good. He's just a big time operator. He's won twice around Cheltenham. But at the prices, Native River is very solid, and I think Road to Respect is also one worth looking at a price.
Road to Respect 20 to 1 with Hills and Betfair Sportsbook, and Native River with the same 2 firms 6 to 1. I think if you told us after last year's race to be only 6 to 1 about Native River, would have been I certainly would have been getting involved myself. Any other comments on the Gold Cup before we move on to the last 2? No. So this is where I'll be.
I'd just add, just on Andy's on Road to Respect, Noel was making the Ryanair a live runner for him yesterday.
Right.
He was chatting to Gary after the bumper, which was a bit weird. I don't know why, but he was at pains to suggest that the Ryanair is more than just a possibility for him.
Well, if that's the case, he'd be a huge player.
Be a big runner in that.
Yeah, definitely.
16-1 Paddy's and Unibet on Road to Respect with non-runner no bet, which, given what Joe's just said, is probably the right probably the right play.
He'd very close to favourite if he running that.
On to the last two now. That's when I'll be heading to the train station to avoid the rush on my way back to London. But Stand Up and Fight 4-1 favourite for the Foxhunters. Hazel Hill 13-2. Road to Rome 7-1. Uccello Conti 7-1. Chantou Flyer 9-1. Cad de Burley and Cruiselin both 12-1. 14-1 bar. To the floor. Any of these guys taking your fancy?
Yeah, if you're looking for market moves, Cad de Burley's been a mover in recent days. Won the point-to-point yesterday, albeit uncompetitive, but it's got a really good Cheltenham record. Ran really well, went fifth in the race last year. I think the 12-1 will be under pressure, but I haven't really got a firm opinion. I haven't had a bet in the race.
Andy?
I did one of these preview panels last year with Nick Schofield.
It was this one?
Yeah, that's right, of course, yeah, this one. And
Nick, where are you?
Yeah. And his best bet at the meeting was, actually I did two with him, funny enough, that's why I was getting confused. And his best bet at the meeting was Cade de Burley. Yeah. Because I think he was in on with the owners or something like that, or whatever.
He would have known it from Nichols.
From Nichols, that's right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, he was tipped up on Friday by a guy called Rhys Williams, who's he lives down West Country way, but he'd be a bit of a point-to-point aficionado. And I think he's done a column for at the races. He's tipped him up on that.
Yeah, if he did that, obviously that price would have, that tip would have been cemented by the weekend when, albeit uncompetitive. Right.
But he was a long way back in the Foxhunters last year, because obviously I had my eye on him, because I did have a few quid on him.
He finished three
but he was miles over.
He was about 20th going past the stands. He had no right to finish fifth. So I think Connections have thought, right, they went to Punchestown, beat the best in Ireland on the round soil. And then, obviously, I didn't realise he had a point-to-point win the other day.
21 length victory that one up at stand as well.
What price is it at the moment, by the way?
12.
He is 12-1.
I'm not a hunter chase aficionado, but he's the one immediately that jumps out the page from what happened last year.
Joe?
Nothing more to add over and above that, to be honest with you.
Fine, on to the last one then, and it's the grand annual.
Two to go.
Last two. Got excited.
We can deal with them together if you want.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right thing to do. Well, I think I know what you're going to say then. The grand annual. We can have an over-underline how many Nicky Henderson runners we'll have here as well. Magic Saint 7-1. What's wrong with you? 10-1. Us and them 14-1. Not another muddle 14-1. 16-1 bar. Tony, I'm guessing it's a.
Be honest with you, I think Magic Saint is. I'm surprised how short it is at the moment. Obviously, that Ascot form's worked out. The fifth worked out well. Won well last time, but I can't be having him at 7-1 in that kind of field. I can pass on a really good word for Bundoran. I think that's available at 25s. Again, he might have showed his hand a little bit too early at Cheltenham in November, when a really good winner from a dual subsequent scorer, but he did go up £10 for that. But course and distance form. I think he's got form figures of 2-1-2 Bundoran. So he could be interesting, 25s each way, but sometimes it does go to a less exposed handicapper than that. And talking about favourites, I think they're very, very keen on Dallas de Picton, aren't they? In the Martin Pipe, very keen. But there again, he's about 5-1, 11-2. So I haven't had a bet, and if I haven't had a bet, I'm not going to do any recommendations. So I'm sticking those two out from a tipping and a betting point of view.
Okay, we'll tackle the Grand Annual first then, Andy.
That 25-1 for Bundoran is an absolute insult. The key to Bundoran, and Tony knows better than I do, he's brilliant fresh. I think Tom George has recognised that. It's hard to put a lid on him, he's quite an exuberant type. But first time out when he beat Movie Legend, I mean, that's one since. Pepe Le Pew, who was 30, won the other day. Do It for the Village, got beat 30 lengths, hacked up next time out at Chepstow. I mean, it was a good performance that day, and then next time out, maybe it might have just come a bit too quick. But I mean, Ozzy the Oscar who beat him was a fair tool anyway.
He had a spin round after racing at Exeter with God's Own last week. These racecourse gallops mean absolutely nothing, but they just had a little spin round there to give him a bit of an away day as well. The 20 and 25 to 1,
That's
like I
massive.
said, he's a big price.
He's got Cheltenham form, and he ran well in the old
Close Brothers, yeah,
behind Tully
he
East.
was 6 in the Close Brothers,
He probably just didn't stay the 2.5. They've obviously worked out that he needs a strong run too. So he's got a lot going for him, Dumbundor, and the Tom Jaw's also in great nick as well.
Yeah.
Going to say that's right.
Yeah. He's a big price.
That 25 to 1 available with a few firms: Coral, Betfred, Tote Sport, 888, and Sporting Bet, the ones who offer the non-run no bet. But you should be okay there. Joe, anything for you here?
Sold on Bundoran. I'll probably, just because I'm a glutton for punishment, I'll probably back the 11-year-old Duke and Navan on the day as well. Didn't run too badly at Leopardstown on. He was third in a 2-mile handicap chase at the Dublin Racing Festival. So I think, no real strong view on it. And in the Martin Pipe, no view other than if Henry ran one of his 2 mares, Honeysuckle or Sonoria, they'd be really interested in that.
Sounds like because of Bundoran, I'm now going to have to get the later train back home, which is a bit of a blow. Andy, in the Martin Pipe, I'll quickly rattle through the runners. You got Dallas to Picton is 6 to 1, Uradel 7 to 1, Honeysuckle, who we don't expect to run in the race, at 16 to 1. Live Love Laugh, who we've heard from Joe, is unlikely to run here as well. This is 20 to 1. Capitaine 20 to 1. Again, it's who knows? I mean, at the moment, it's difficult to know who's going to run. It's going to cut up massively. But any catching your eye?
I think the first thing you need to look at when you're looking at this race is what has got the potential to be a graded horse next season. You look at the likes of Sir de Champs, Don Polly, Killers of Vic, Champagne Classic, blow by blow to a smaller degree this year. He looked good early on in the season. It often goes to a horse that's the trainers think a hell of a lot of.
They're all gigging.
And they're all gigging. All those I've just mentioned are gigging stand.
And they were running up about 124.
So up pops Dallas to Picton, of course, who's a gigging stand horse who's had 2 wins this season. He won a very slowly run race last time out at Leopardstown. It was a crawl. That might not necessarily have suited him, but he still was too good. Conversely, the time before he won in a fast time, so he's got a bit of both. So he's very, very unoriginal, tipping a 6 to 1 favourite in a race like that. But yeah, if they get a good pilot for him, and I presume they'll get the best available, then he should be justifying his position, I think.
Is Easy Game entered in this race?
I think he's
Sorry, Pleasure Dome. I keep getting them mixed up.
Pleasure Dome.
Oh, she jumped terrible last time out, didn't she?
No,
Is that the one?
Not in the betting.
No, okay. No, it's just it was a crawl of a race and he was way at the back.
Yeah, she just never got into the rhythm that day at all.
I'd say an awful lot better than that form.
Yeah, I think she ran third behind
Darren Ross
and the time before, Danny Limerick. So that's a true barometer to her form.
So that brings us to the end of the racing. We'll whip round you guys quickly to get your naps of the Friday. So Tony, coming to you first.
I would get involved with invitation only, win only on the exchange. But if you want a bet, a fixed odds bet, I would go Penton Hills 20 to 1 each way with Hills and Betfair, and that's all in, not non-run and no bet.
Andy,
Legend of Oscar.
Joe,
Relegate Bartlett.
There you have it. Thank you very much to our experts for hopefully uncovering some value on the Friday of Cheltenham, and thank you very much for listening. As I say, with the IJF campaign, for every bet of £1 or more placed either on the Oddschecker website through QuickBet or placed through our app, we will be donating 5p to a very, very valuable cause in the Injured Jockeys Fund. So please keep that in mind and have a fantastic festival.